Okay, so here are 10 9 to 5 principles that will help you once you start your business or if you start a business, right? So number one, showing up consistently. Showing up consistently. It's really annoying when people are always late, right? And I've had to check myself, right? I have a client that I work with. They are on the other side of London. And whenever I go out to see them, there's always some traffic, right? So I do content days in my business. So on a content day, I will go out to a client and I will typically do some video work or some photography or both, and collect the assets that I need essentially in order to edit, so that we have some content for their social media, etc., etc. Right? Every time I go to this client, I'm always late. I'm always late. It was happening for a good month. Um, and after a while, the first time it's like, okay, it's fine. Second time it's like, okay. Third time it's now a habit. It's now a habit. So I've had to like leave well ahead of time just to make up for it. I remember one time in particular, I was like, I was probably late the time before, but I was late because the sat nav took me a different direction, and all the trains in London were on strike that day as well. So it was like hours late. And even though I knew that it wasn't really my fault, it kind of still felt like my fault because like, man, like I don't really have any footing here because I've burnt all the sort of bridges. Now I still work with that client and produce great work for them and all of that. But we all fall short is what I'm trying to say. All fall short. So me saying that these things, it's not that you're perfect or whatever, but it's just things to be aware of. So number one is showing up on time consistently, right? If you show up on time consistently in your 9 to 5, then more likely you'll show up for yourself in your business. Unless you're late all the time like me and you just need to kind of slap yourself and sort yourself out. Doing tasks even when you don't feel motivated. It's not even about motivation when you work for yourself. It's just about, okay, I got bills to pay. I've got tax that's due. I've got a wife. I've got a child. I've got goals and aspirations I want to do, and a lot of the things that I need money for are not even, they're not even technically like things that I need, but they're things that I might want and stuff that my wife might deserve. So it's stuff like going on holiday. My wife deserves to go on holiday, right? Um, like my child deserves like new clothes. I should have money in the account to so it's not even a doing tasks even when you're motivated, even when you're not motivated. Like you have to find that motivation somewhere. If you can't find the motivation in your 9 to 5, then just don't even stop working, for your owner. Keep working because like you're not gonna suddenly have that. But I've tried it before, mate. I've tried it before where I've quit a job thinking, okay, I'm gonna do this thing now, but I didn't have the motivation to kind of like get the business to where I wanted it in the job. And that's another thing that I'd say. I'd say to get the business to a place within your 9 to 5 in your job before you quit your job, right? So you should have a business making maybe 6 grand a month or something before you leave your 9 to 5. In order to have like a buffer, in order to just know that you have the chops to do this whilst doing something else. If you can set up a business and run a business whilst you're working for someone else, then you'll definitely be able to do it for yourself. You definitely have that chops. That's you embedded that into every fiber of your being by that point, right? So doing tasks even when you don't feel motivated, you have to feel motivated. You have to get it done. Learning how to work with difficult people. And you know what? Hopefully, you're not the difficult person in the situation. I used to photograph at church. When I was made redundant, I used to photograph at church, and I from working in church, right? I worked with other photographers and other videographers, right? If you were difficult to work with at church, or if I worked with you even once, like outside of that, and you were difficult to work with, right? But especially if I worked with you in church and you were a pain to work with, then you would just be on my list of like, once private jobs come my way, do not send them to this person, send them to this person instead. Because sometimes you just need somebody that's able to just say, yep, got that, we'll do that. And they'll do a good job on time. And they won't come up with an excuse. They won't message you on the day before saying, oh, I can't do it. You know, they are reliable, you know. So you can have skills. You can have skills. You know, there's a lot of, let's say, I'm talking in the realm of photography here, right? You can be a skilled photographer, right? But if you're difficult to work with, it supersedes your skill. If you're a pain to work with, if you're not a likable person, then I won't want to introduce you or put you in front of other people. Yeah. It's just the way it is, right? So learn how to work with difficult people. Don't be a difficult person yourself. Sorry, on the other side of that, learn how to work with difficult people. You know, sometimes something happens within business and it's not your fault, but you have to kind of like find a way around it so that everyone's happy. It's not always being right. Sometimes it's just kind of like falling on your sword and just making sure the thing is done, staying professional with it. If you've got very little tolerance for people and you find a business where you work by yourself and don't communicate with people. But for the most part, I work with service providers. For the most part, they're absolutely fine. But sometimes you have to work with difficult people. You just have to be able to deal with different people as well. One more point on this. I used to work within the contract. I still sort of work within the construction field, but I used to work more closely in the construction field. And there are difficult people there that will say some crazy stuff. They will test you because you work in an office, you know. But you know, it's about kind of like learning those communication skills, learning those interpersonal skills, and just knowing that like the way I talk to Tom is not the way I'll talk to Dick and Harry, because they're just on two different bits. Do you know what I mean? I think it's in NFL, like, you know, when they score a touchdown or whatever, it's not unusual for you to slap the bum of the player, right? It's not unusual, but like you can't be slapping everyone's bum because I don't know you like that. So anyway, that's a tangent. Following systems and processes properly. If you are not somebody who can follow systems and processes properly, then obviously you need to be able to be somebody that's able to follow instructions. You know what I mean? Follow instructions. If you can't follow instructions for somebody else, like all of this is kind of like, it's sort of like you're training for yourself. Like employment is simply training you to do the thing for yourself. But if you can't even follow the system properly when you're with someone else, like I said, you should be making a certain amount for yourself before you leave, right? But it definitely helps following systems and processes properly. Get to know, communicating clearly and professionally. I think that kind of goes into the third one, learning how to work with difficult people. Communication is key. Communication is key. You can't just disappear. You can't just, you know, when you're running ads, you can't just leave clients out of the know, you know, and just hope that they don't realize that something's going wrong. Or, you know, they'll be wondering, oh, where is this person? What is going on? You know what I mean? And they'll be thinking, oh, you know, he's just not communicating. He's a difficult person to work with. I'm going to find someone else. Communicating clearly and professionally when you have assistants that are working with you. If you're not communicating clearly, they're getting the work wrong, and it's just like, you know, iteration after iteration, and it just drags out the whole project. That's on you as the manager, as the director. That's on you. So learn to communicate clearly and professionally. And I'd go as far as to say, just another example from church again, like when working with different departments, right? Learning how to communicate with them clearly in a way where they will want to do the work, right? So church is largely like voluntary based, right? People don't actually have to give their time. So read the book, how to influence, to how to make friends and influence people by, wait one second, how to make friends and influence people. Oh, yeah, I got it right. How to make friends and influence people by Dale Carnegie, right? Communicating, like there's a way of asking for something, requesting something, or asking for somebody's, work or time, without making them feel like total rubbish, right? So just saying. Understanding deadlines and accountability. Everything's accountable to you as the business owner. The buck stops with you, right? And that, in my case, that's why they hire me. They don't want another headache. They already hate marketing. Marketing is just another thing that a business is just has to do. You have to do it because everyone else is doing it. Ugh, right? It's a waste of time. But if I can find someone else that does it, I don't want to be now micromanaging that person because I've hired him or her to do it. So, it kind of defeats the purpose. And you know what? It's annoying that some company owners, some businesses, they hire like a marketing person and they purposefully micromanage that person. They don't allow them to excel in their area of brilliance, which is very annoying. So don't do that if you're that person. But yeah, you have to understand deadlines. You have to know that, okay, this ends on this date. So in order to make that date, I need to get these objectives done by that date, right? And yeah, makes sense. Building discipline instead of relying on inspiration. That kind of goes into like number two, which was doing tasks even when you don't feel motivated. Um, Building discipline is everything in business, right? Is everything that is business. I think that if you, the definition of owning a business is being disciplined to run the business. Otherwise, you are in a lot of problems, especially if you grow it to a certain amount, right? If you grow your company to a certain amount and you don't have the discipline to do certain things, well, you'll quickly find out that nobody's going to come to save you. You'll realize why that term, no one's coming to save you, even exists, because the tax man is not coming to save you. You don't have discipline with your finances, right? And look, if you don't have discipline with your finances, right? And if you need to be inspired in order to do work, and if you owe taxes and you lose clients because you weren't inspired to do the work that they're paying you to do, tough life. Learning customer service and people skills. I used to work in Waitrose when I was younger. It was my first job. I used to work in Waitrose and I used to work in Hollister, in White City. I don't know if it's still there in Westfield. Anyway, I learned great customer service from both jobs, especially Waitrose. Now, back in the day, and I was speaking to someone the other day, and they were saying that in M&S is still kind of like that, but Waitrose and other supermarket chains, it was very much sort of like you're on your P's and Q's constantly. If a customer asked you to find something, oh, do you have any more of this in stock? You'd go to the back, you'd check, you come back out. Oh no, miss, we don't have that. Blah blah blah. Oh, do you know where to find the bread? Okay, yep, I do. Just follow me. I'll show you exactly where it is. Nowadays, you go into a store and it's just like, oh yeah, just round the corner, or like if it's not on the shop floor, then we don't have it in stock. Terrible customer service. You see people on the phone at the checkouts, they're just talking over each other in front of a customer. Really, you get kind of some sort of sanction back in the day, but it's where like all this automation's happening, and it's sort of like removing customer service, which is a big shame. But at the same time, it just makes it stand out even more when people actually do use it. Customer service is pivotal to my business because my business is largely relationship based. It's work based as well. Like, you have to produce and everything, but I would say that my clients work with me at this point because I'm able to do what I do, and they like me as a person. I that's what I think. Uh, Relationship is not enough. It's not enough. You know, you still have to deliver on that promise that you said that you would. But you know, yeah, it's very important. So learning customer service and people skills. But people skills again. We've spoken about this again. People skills is everything. Everything. You know, if you don't have people skills, then people won't even want to work with you. They won't even want to associate themselves with you. They won't recommend you for work. They won't tell other people about you. They won't eat. Yeah, they'll kind of like quit on you before giving you the chance. So, you know, people skills very important. Repeating boring tasks without quitting. Yeah, a lot of repetition. I remember when I wanted to leave this job that I was with, right? I started an Etsy store. So I had quite a successful Etsy store, over, I want to say over 2,000 sales, in 2 years over the US, selling t-shirts, jumpers, basically print on demand. But I had my niche, and I still make sales within that store, but I don't do any of the SEO stuff that I used to do. But I used to have like a target. I used to wake up in the morning, I used to upload 5 products, then I used to shower, no, sorry. Then I used to do my walk or go to the gym, come home, shower, and then do my other 5 posts. Or it was 10. I think it might have been 10, and I done 20 a day. And I used to do that and upload loads of products, and yeah, get loads of sales from it as well. So repeating boring tasks without quitting. It's in the boring tasks a lot of the time. You know, we talk about all this fancy stuff in marketing and all of this, but sometimes it is in those boring repetitive tasks where a lot of value is being made, and you're just gapping your competition. I'm doing something right now which is repetitive. I do it every single morning and every single afternoon, and it gets me more inquiries as well. Do you know what I mean? So I preach digital marketing, and it works for my clients and all of that. But I also do repetitive stuff in order to keep myself on top in it, keep myself doing something different from all of these hoes. Um, yeah, you know what I mean. Repeating boring tasks and realizing that consistency beats random bursts of effort. You know, consistency beats random bursts of effort. Yeah, you have to be consistent in this life. You have to be consistent. Um, yeah, yeah. There's no point in like, don't be that person who is like a 10. They're on like level 10 for a week. I'd rather you just be on level 6 consistently. Level 6 consistently is good. You know, people know what to expect. They know what you're on. They know what you do. They know what to expect. That's amazing. Do you know what I mean? Or even if you can be a level 7, but don't kind of go for high high intensity, high volume, heavy reps, right? Then injure yourself, and now you're out of commission. You burnt yourself out. You're out of commission for a few weeks. There's no point in doing that. So anyway, these were just 10 9 to 5 principles that will help you in your business. I wish you the best of luck in your business. And if you have a business, comment below what your business is. You know, share that. Hope you like the video, like and subscribe, comment below, and I'll see you in the next one.